God accepts you for who you are, my friend. Know that today. Not on the basis of how you perform, not on the basis of how you live, but He accepts you just like that, freely. Just come, just as you are.
Jesus, we enthrone you. We proclaim you are King. Standing here in the midst of us, we raise you up with our praise. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. Come, Lord Jesus, and take your place. Jesus, we enthrone you. We proclaim you are standing here in the midst of us. We raise you up with our praise. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. Come, Lord Jesus, and take your. And as we worship, and as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. Come, Lord Jesus, and take. See it one more time. As we worship, let's worship Him. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. And as we worship, build your throne. Come, Lord Jesus, and take your place.
Sam Cheladurai invites you to a special pastor seminar at AFT Chennai on the 20th, 21st and 22nd of January 2016 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please note that all messages will be in Tamil only. Prior registration with a fee of Rs 700 is required. You can register online at www.refsam.org or you can call us at the numbers on the screen. We look forward to seeing you there.
What is the law? The law is the rules and regulations in the Bible, right? A lot of do's and don'ts. It's there. A lot are there in the Old Testament, but there are in the New Testament also, right? The Bible commands us to do certain things, not to do certain things. Now, pay attention. This may sound very controversial, okay? Sometimes, you know how it is, we feel pressured to do God's commandments, right? You know the feeling? Oh, I have to obey God. Some temptation comes and you think, oh, I have to obey God. If I don't obey God, I'm finished here, right? Something bad will happen to me, gone. So therefore, let me obey God. Or you're thinking everything is going well right now in your life and you're thinking, well, I don't know how long it can continue like this, you know. I hope I don't get into any big sins. I hope I don't disobey God and lose my way and go off somewhere. You know, there's a pressure. There's a pressure to doing His commandments, to pleasing Him. Are you paying attention? There is a pressure that comes with doing His will. Sometimes we feel pressured. We're thinking, am I doing the will of God? What if I'm not? You know, we feel pressured about that. God doesn't even want us to feel pressured about that. How can I say that? Well, if you say obedience will only bring you blessing, that is putting pressure. Right? If God had said, I will bless you on the basis of your obedience, then now what has happened? He would have put pressure on our obedience, right? We'll be pressured, we'll be feeling pressured to obey. We'll feel pressure to obey and thereby receive blessing, right? Or receive something. What he did, he took out that pressure. He said, no, your blessing is not based on your obedience. Pressure, gone. He said, you can't receive anything from me based on your obedience to my holy commandments. Pressure. Now I don't have to think, let me do the commandments so that I can receive something from. I don't have to be under that pressure. He removes if he had said, only if you live a holy, righteous life, only if you are pure, only if you do my commandments faithfully, then only I will accept you. If he had said like that, then only I will welcome you. Then only I will treat you good. Then only I will show my love to you. If God had said like that, that would be putting a little bit of pressure. We'll be feeling pressure to obey his commandments, right? Why? Then only God will accept us. Otherwise, God will reject us. But what did God do? He went and took out that pressure. He said, not on the basis of your obedience, on the basis of my son's perfect obedience. Pressure is gone. Even when it comes to the matter of obeying his commandments, God has removed there's no pressure, you see. I don't have to obey to get the blessing. I don't have to obey to be accepted by him. No. He's created another way. He says, you simply believe that Christ obeyed, that Christ did everything for you, and I will bless you, I will accept you, I will count you as righteous. He takes out the pressure from obeying his holy commandments. Now, this has gone a little bit too far, you may think. What is this, you may think. Why does he have to do that? There's nothing wrong in putting pressure for us to obey his Bible. I agree with you. There's nothing wrong, I think. If God had said, son, listen, let me take out the pressure from sin. Let me take out the pressure from curse. Let me take out the pressure from sickness, from poverty, from the devil, from all evil forces. I'll take out all pressure, but I'll leave only one pressure. That is what? Law pressure. If he had said that, I don't think we can complain. Okay? I think I would have still been happy. But the thing is, he did not even want to leave this one pressure. You see? He didn't even want to, he accepts us just freely, not on the basis of what we do. Whether we do it right or wrong, whether we sin or not, he accepts us. That is the gospel. Even for the believer. Okay. Now, this happens even in the world. People sometimes, even in the world, accept you just by grace, like just, not looking at what you do. Let me not use the word grace. I don't like to use it cheaply, But they accept you just for who you are sometimes. In the world even, just think about, I gave you an example of a person who faces pressure at work, right? So let's think. For example, a guy facing a lot of pressure at work commits a huge mistake, right? And it costs him his entire salary. At work, his boss says, because you have done this huge mistake, I'm going to have to cut your next month's salary, full salary cut. The guy comes home that day, right? Imagine how sad he will be, how irritated he will be, right? He comes and he tells his wife, what happened? He says, I committed a huge mistake and they cut my salary. Next month, we're not going to get any salary. And most wives, I think what they will do is, they won't put more pressure on him, see. They won't be like, what's wrong with you? No, they'll be a little more gracious, right? They'll think the man has had a hard day at work, right? They'll think since he's had such a hard day there, let me treat him extra special today. So they welcome him extra special. They treat him extra special. They cook an extra special meal that night, right? He gets the extra special. What I'm saying is, even our wives do that at home. Okay? Even the people in our home, mothers do that. I would say mothers do it most often. The mothers just accept you, whether you do right or wrong or, somehow they just don't care. They just accept you. They just treat you well anyway, right? So people in our home do that. Forget about people in our home. Let me tell you a story about Dhoni. You know Dhoni, the cricketer, right? The Indian cricket captain, MS Dhoni. Yeah? You know, Dhoni plays under a lot of pressure. We all know that, right? Being the captain of the Indian cricket team is not a joke, you see. Because the Indian people, when it comes to cricket, they will never be satisfied. You can never satisfy the Indian people when it comes to cricket. No matter how much you win, if you lose, they will come and throw stones at your house. That's what happens to Dhoni, you know. The guy has won the World Cup for India. He's won every, accolade you can imagine. He's got India to the #1 test ranking. He's done this, he's done that, all kinds of other tournaments. He's won, he's proved himself. He has performed. They say Dhoni is one of the best cricketers to perform under pressure. Some people say he's the best clutch player, one-day international clutch player of all time. Right? So he plays, under a lot of pressure and he still succeeds. And one time these media people asked Dhoni, they say, you play under a lot of pressure, right? And then how do you, after a high-pressure match, high-pressure tournament, how do you go home and relax? How do you relax? How do you just unwind and let go of all this pressure? And he says to them, I love his answer, He says, I go home and I spend a lot of time with my dogs. Pay attention. At the time, he had 3 dogs. And he says, you see, my 3 dogs, they don't care whether I've lost the match, or I've won the match, or I hit a 6 at the end. They don't care what I did. They give me the same welcome every time. Who are these? The dogs. My friend, if Dhoni's dog can do that much, my God is much, much, much better, right? I'm not comparing my God to a dog. Please pay attention, right? His dog accepts him because it doesn't know anything about cricket. Okay? It doesn't know. If he has committed a mistake, he doesn't know the mistakes he's committed. It doesn't understand anything. It doesn't know his failures. Nothing. And so out of ignorance, it accepts him. But my God, let me tell you about my God. He knows all my mistakes. He knows all my failures. He knows all my weaknesses. He knows all my sins. And knowing all that, he accepts me with arms open wide. Big difference. Don't think I'm equating our God to Dhoni's God in reverse, right? D-O-G. But even, people in our home, I said our wives accept us, right? God is better than that, my friend. Our wives and our mothers accept us. I said that. But our wives accept us when we do trouble at work. When we create trouble at home, our wives will accept us. Will they accept? Even the mother, if you do something directly against the mother, imagine that. God forbid, against your own mother, if you do that, will your mother accept? Will your mother treat you the same way? Will she say, it doesn't matter to me, come, I'll welcome you, I'll do everything the same way, I'll love you as much? No. At work, you create trouble, fine, they come, they pat you on the back, and they accept you and give you a warm welcome. No, but if you create trouble at home, you are finished. But my God, let me tell you about my God. Right? Amen. I have sinned against him. David said, against you and you alone have I. We sin against God, directly against God. We violate his commands. We refuse to do his will in our lives. We go directly against him. And yet he says, I accept you. For who you are, for whatever you've done, I still accept you. I won't look at all that. You come. I will accept. Why? His son has lived a perfect life for me and been perfectly obedient. Right? So our God is way better than that. I say to you, whoever you are, whatever you've done, God accepts you for who you are, my friend. Know that today. Not on the basis of how you perform, not on the basis of how you live, but he accepts you just like that, freely. Just come, just as you are. He accepts freely. He accepts fully. He welcomes you. Think about the prodigal son story. This is how God does it. People are thinking, some people may be thinking, well, you started the message by saying you're going to answer the objection that this type of teaching leads to disobedience. But what you're doing in the end is going deeper and deeper into this. You're saying God accepts you for whatever you do, for whoever you are. Doesn't matter. God accepts you still. If you say like this, people will go do all kinds of wrong things and say, God accept me. Well, I know that I've said I'll answer the objection. I'm going there, right? Just pay attention. I got to go a certain way, right? But let me give a preliminary answer, a sort of, preliminary rebuttal, right, to the objection. They think, the opposite side thinks if you put enough pressure, people will start to obey, all right? No, it doesn't work like that. If you put extreme pressure, it will bring about extremely bad results. I'll give you an example. If I tell the person playing keyboard, if you make one mistake, one note is wrong, cut your hand off. That sounds ridiculous, but people have done that, believe it or not. Human beings have gone this route, okay? I'll give you an example. In the 1990s, Iraq, under the rule of Saddam Hussein, right? At the time, Saddam Hussein's son, Uday Hussein, was in charge of the national football team in Iraq, right? In the 1990s. And when he became in charge, he thought, well, now I'm going to make the Iraq football team a lot better. Right? I'm going to make them play better. I'm going to make them play so good they'll make Iraq proud, right? And so he brought some new methods. And let me tell you the new methods. If you play very badly, we'll cut off your leg. No joke, right? This was really done at the time in the 1990s, right? If the team loses a match, they will get flogging with an electric cable, the entire team, okay? Or they will make them to have a bath in raw sewage. Okay, he thought if you threaten them like this, you can get them to play better. In 1996, this was at the height of these type of threatenings and, in 1996, Iraq's world FIFA ranking, that is the national football ranking, right? Iraq's football ranking in the world was 139th. It was their worst ever ranking in Iraqi history. The time when the worst pressure was put on them, they performed the worst. Right? There are many examples like this. People think by threatening, out of fear, you can get them to do something, right? And so preachers are saying, preachers are doing something like this. They're saying, if you don't do this, God will break your leg. He will allow an accident to happen. It's sort of like that, right? Well, some people say, you might be thinking, well, you're talking about extreme pressure. But isn't a little pressure good? A little pressure, I think, is good. Well, let me tell you, my friend, God doesn't want you to have even a little pressure. I'm talking about law pressure, by the way, okay? God doesn't want you to have even a little law pressure. How do I know this? Let's go to Romans chapter 7, verse 6. But now we have been delivered from the law, having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in the newness of the Spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. Now notice the statement, now we have been delivered from what? From the law. Now if he had said delivered from sin, I understand that. Yes, I need deliverance from sin. If he had said deliverance from the power of the devil, that is also okay. Deliverance from other things, evil things, fine. But deliverance from the law, this is God's holy law. It is righteous and good. It contains holy, righteous commandments. Do we need deliverance from that? What does he mean, deliverance? He means, you see, the law was sort of, like a dictator. It was treating us. It was saying, if you can picture the law speaking to us, it was saying, if you don't do what I say, God will not bless you. Okay? If you don't abide by my terms, God will not accept you. God will not let you in. God will not love you. You better give respect to me. You better do what I say. It's like people, sometimes, a new guy comes into a company and somebody in the company will tell him, hey, listen, come here. Know who's the boss here. I'm, if I say one word, the manager will kick you out. So you better treat me good. Some people say this in the home, to a servant or something. They'll say, listen, I'm very important here. People who say like that, by the way, are not very important, first of all, okay? But they'll they'll use it. They'll sort of create an image of themselves and they'll say, I'm very important, so you better do what I say. If I don't like you, if I say one word, the boss will kick you out, things like that. The law is sort of doing like that, something like that. Not because the law is bad, but because we are sinful, it looks like that, right? So Paul is taking that sort of negative picture of the law, not because the law is negative, but because we are negative, the law works negatively for us, all right? Plus into minus is what? Minus. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Okay, so the law is plus, but we are minus. But if you multiply the two, if you you end up with minus only. So the point is, what I'm saying is, the law taken negatively by negative sinful people works out in the bad way for them, ends up threatening them, right? If you don't obey me, God will, that's all, do something, right? And so Paul is saying we have been delivered from that type of bondage to the law, right? Think about that, delivered from the law. Now, how have we been delivered? How were we delivered? The answer is right there in that verse. Having died to what we were held by. Right? We have been delivered from the law, having died to what we were held by. What does Paul mean? He's saying a dead person cannot be ruled by the law anymore. Right? The law cannot threaten a dead person. It's a very simple thing what Paul is saying. You can't, if the fellow is alive, you can tell him, you better respect me, you better do what I say, you better do this, you better do that, right? If the fellow dies, after he dies, will you go say, you better do what Nobody's going to say that, right? You can't threaten a dead person. You can't try to rule over a dead person. Paul is simply saying, we have died to the law. As far as the law is concerned, we are dead. The law cannot threaten me anymore. Look at verse 1, Romans 7 verse 1. Or do you not know, brethren, for I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. How long does the law have dominion? As long as he? So as soon as he dies, that dominion is cut. Okay. Now you may say, okay, I understand that a dead person, law cannot threaten a dead person, right? Cannot pressurize a dead person. But when did I ever die? When did I ever die? When did this ever happen to me? How did this happen to me? Look in verse 4. The answer is found right there. Therefore, my brethren, you also have become dead to the law through the body of Christ. How did you become dead to the law? Through the body of Christ. That you may be married to another, to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit. What he's trying to say is through the body of Christ. That means on the cross, when Christ died, you also died with him. Christ died to sin and to all other evil forces. You also died to those things. That is the argument of the previous chapter. If you go read Romans 6, we won't do that. Paul says the same thing about sin. He says, don't you know that we have died to sin? How can we live any longer in it? How can sin have dominion over us? For we have died to sin. Now he comes and does the same thing with the law in chapter 7. He's saying, don't you know that we have died to the law? How can the law have any dominion over you? How can it pressurize you? You died along with Christ. When Christ was crucified, when Christ died, you died along with him. Right? You died to the law. Now it's like this, a guy who drives fast. Imagine a guy, some boys, they drive very fast, right? And 80 is the speed limit. They want to go 160, double the speed limit. That's their calculation, And so you try telling them, they don't listen. Then you start threatening them. Don't disobey the speed limit. Obey it. It will end up very badly for you. If you continue like this, you will end up in a very bad state. The fellow refuses to disobey, and one day he goes very fast. Imagine he goes 200 kilometers per hour on the highway, has a big accident, and he dies. Now, will you go after that and say, don't do it? Will you say again? No. You'll cry. You'll say, I said all your life. I said so many times, you never. But you won't go and again threaten him, try to make him to obey the law, that speed limit law, you see. It's like that. The law advised me so much. He said, don't disobey me. It will end up bad. I never listened. Then the law threatened me. Don't, you better not. Otherwise God will do this. And I never listened. I disobeyed. The law said, you will die if you continue like this. I continued and I died. Where did I die? On the cross. Right? My sins were put on Christ. That means what? Christ died, but whatever Christ did, I did. Christ lived a holy life, pure life, but that means when God looks, it is as though I myself lived the holy life. So when God looks at Christ on the cross and Christ is hanging there, it is as though I myself am bearing the sins and hanging and paying for my punishment with death itself. The law said the wages of sin is death. The law pronounced a death sentence on me, and I carried out the sentence.
Thanks be to God who owns causes us triumph in His name. Thanks be to God who always causes us to win. Yeah. Thanks be to God who always causes us triumph in His name. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God. We have overcome. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We have overcome by the power of your name. Jesus, you're the one. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. The one who made a way for us. Triumph in His name. Oh, 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 oh. Thanks be to God who always causes us to triumph in His name. Thanks be to God who always causes us to win. Yeah. Thanks be to God who always causes us to triumph in His name. Thanks
Clap
be
our hands
to
and sing.
God. Thanks be to God. We have overcome. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We have overcome by the power of your name. Jesus, you're the one. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. The one who made a way for us to triumph in your name. Oh, 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 oh.
We got the victory.
We got the victory. Everything will be alright, alright. We got the victory. Everything will be